Hey guys, it's Zach McCarley. Week 3 lower body day. Today, you guys are going to see an exercise that I have never actually videotaped for people because it was an exercise that I've only divulged to some of my closest training partners and clients. This is the dynamic effort front squat, or the dynamic effort quarter front squat, or quarter front squats for short, but it's basically a very high box squat, and the focus is to let the body know that you can handle a lot of weight without freaking the body out. Also, building some of the strength in the body and some of the connective tissues and getting your body used to being under that kind of load and under those kind of conditions to handle weight effectively and quickly. So after that first set, I noticed that my lats and shoulders were a little bit tight, so I did a little bit of lat and tricep pressing to improve my rack position. And then we're going back to this. I believe the box is a 24-inch high box. It's just as simple as it's a front squat that's kind of like a dynamic effort box squat, except you are attempting to handle the weight as if you were going to jerk it. While I was doing those quarter front squats, my knee kind of popped and it was behaving a little weird, and you can't hear it because I've had to mute the audio due to copyright issues, but I did a set of 225 here. I heard my knee clicking, and I also got a call for some work that I had to go out and do. I had to go out and receive a door for a contractor friend of mine that I work with occasionally, so drove out, received the door, came back 2 hours later, and proceeded to begin my workout part 2. At this point, my knee had not developed any swelling. There was no bruising. There was no discomfort of any kind. It was just popping when I move it through a range of motion, which was kind of strange. But no discoloration, no swelling, no pain. I'm recording this audio the day after this workout, and still no pain, no discoloration, no swelling. I'm not entirely sure what it was, but it's not popping like that anymore, so we'll see how it goes. I did record a long session of stretching right here, but my camera actually stopped recording after a short time. So I like to start out with some upward facing dog, downward facing dog, as I mentioned in the past. Sometimes I do little variations on it. You can see me coming up on my toes and then coming back down to my heels and then bending my knees and then breathing into my belly, breathing out. And then I shift back from a downward facing dog into just a squat and pushing my knees out a little bit, trying to open up those hips. And then I usually lunge forward and I start to work the glutes a little bit, turn in, back and forth, trying to see where those tight spots are. And I'm just going to keep talking about the stretching a little bit through these front squats. I think stretching is something that's definitely not given enough attention, especially in strength sports, aside from weightlifting. And I am going to have it written down right here. I'm going to do a solely a stretch video for you guys so you can kind of see what I like to do for warming up my lower legs, so specifically my calves. And I do some very specific soleus stretching that I've never really featured, but it is very interesting. I think it's the most neglected group, and I'm going to get into that in that video because this video is still recording, so I'll get into that in the other video. I could talk about that for a long time because I feel strongly about it. So these are the 345-pound front squats with the axle. My knee was still clicking at this point, and it wasn't clicking, it was popping. And, I was conflicted at continuing. You can see me kind of being like, I was talking to somebody on the other end of the room, Kara. I was just like, man, that is just the weirdest thing that my knee is popping in that way. So after front squats, I went over to some Zercher squat and deadlift supersets. Started with 315. And then there's going to be a fair amount of transition in here because I just decided to not chop up the video. Give me more time to talk, I suppose. I like to use a lot of supersetting in my training, especially for movements that aren't that important to me, that are just kind of additional volume, because it is a wise way to allocate your time while still building a lot of volume in the gym and getting a lot of training stimulus in a shorter period of time. And I really don't like to train any more than 2 hours. Oftentimes I try to keep it under an hour, but sometimes it's really challenging. And I know for a lot of people, they have no more than an hour. So if that's you, I would definitely suggest supersetting sets, even in really, really intense movements like this. Because Zercher squats and deadlifts are two very intense movements, but we're not going ultra heavy in these movements. We're just we're keeping it probably down. I think I'm in the 70 or 75% range for a lot of these movements currently. And, you don't want to go up into the 80 or 90% if you're going to be supersetting things. And if you do, you want to make sure that they're definitely different movements that have nothing to do overlapping with each other. With these two movements, Zerchers for me, they are a posterior chain movement, but for me, they're very largely a quad movement, the way that I perform them. And with the deadlift, I've always had an issue engaging my quads in the deadlift, so supersetting these is almost ideal for my body and my type of training, because I'm able to hit the quads and a fair amount of posterior chain without overloading the posterior chain with the Zercher squats, and then I superset the deadlifts in, and that's really much more of a posterior chain dominant movement, while keeping both of these movements relatively low percentage of maximum weight. And five, I think I was doing sets of 5 here. 5 repetitions is nothing to scoff at, but it's also not enough to reach a very high level of muscular fatigue. It looks like I was doing 3s. Okay, so I was doing 3s. And I might have cut off some repetitions in the editing. That one looked like I only did 2. But I definitely, all my Zerchers were sets of 3. And I thought I was doing deadlift sets of 5, but it might have been deadlift sets of 5 after I increased the weight to 415 right here. On another interesting note, this morning I had a conversation with Anthony Furman, and there is a possibility that I may be taking a swing at the Axel World Record April 22nd. And if that is the case, then it will be televised on ESPN. We'll see where that goes. Nothing's confirmed yet. So, all right, so more deadlifts. And these are a wide grip deadlift. Sometimes I like to integrate these into my training. I like to use a lot of variations, and I only got 20 seconds here, so I can talk about it another time, but I really like to use a lot of different variations in my training to build a broad base and kind of a Russian methodology, I guess you could say, at least from a philosophical training standpoint, building a broad base to build a higher peak. Anyway, if you guys like these videos, let me know. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.